Well, joining us now is Balpreet Singh. He serves as legal counsel and spokesperson for the World Sikh Organization. Mr. Singh, thank you for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
Listen, the indictment filed in U.S. federal court last week, it suggests that Mr. Singh Nijjar's murder here in Canada was not only connected to the murder for hire plot in New York, but also to a larger plan targeting members of the Sikh community in both Canada and the U.S. What's your reaction to that revelation?
I think the revelations in that indictment are blockbuster. We're talking about at least 3 other Sikhs in Canada that were being targeted. And they were to be killed before June 29th, had this plot not been busted. So basically, India is targeting individuals for organizing or participating in a Sikh referendum on the question of Khalistan. And they're using criminal elements, drug dealers, weapon runners. It's completely bizarre, but I think it's an eye-opener for countries that are looking to increase ties with India.
Eye-opener, as you say, but it seems not necessarily to members of the Sikh community, because your organization says that Mr. Nijjar had talked about threats to his life, and other members of the Sikh community have also apparently been warned. I'm wondering if you could share with us what you've heard about that, who is alerting members of the community, what they're being told?
So there are a number of Sikhs that are currently under duty to warn that their lives are under risk, that they are being targeted. The unfortunate part is that they're not actually being told where the risk is coming from or being provided assistance as to how they can protect themselves. But it's very clear that it's not 1 or 2. It is a number of Sikhs who are currently facing threats from the government of India. And from sources that have spoken to law enforcement, we're being told that as of the release of the indictment, those plots had continued. So it wasn't as though India backed off after Nijjar or after September 18th. Plots have continued up until this point. Will they continue even after this indictment has been released? I think that's going to be something we're all watching for. But it's very clear that India is still actively targeting Sikhs in Canada, in North America generally, for basically advocating for Khalistan.
Okay, if that is the case, as you say, right now there are a number of members in the Sikh community who have essentially been subjected to a duty to inform them, but any type of protections being afforded to them?
Not that we're aware of. They're basically being told that they need to, some of them have been told they need to leave home, some of them have been told that they can't be around their own children because that might be a risk to those children. But in terms of actual protections, we're not aware of anything that's being provided. Which is actually quite shocking. I mean, you have these individuals who are being targeted by a foreign government. I mean, there's no worse foreign interference than this. And the level of support and protection being provided is very minimal. So this is definitely a question of concern for us.
Now, the Prime Minister and this country has already taken a lot of flack from India already, as you know, ever since September when the Prime Minister talked about Mr. Nijjar's death. What more would you like to see from this government in response? How would you judge whether or not that's successful?
So our community has known about Indian interference targeting Sikhs in Canada for decades. There are literally books written about it by Indian agents who were operating in Canada. What we want to see is, firstly, those individuals who are responsible for assassinating Hardeep Singh Nijjar, they need to be brought to justice. But not just that, there is a very vast network that has assisted these assassins, both here in this case as well as the Pannu case in New York. And we want that entire network to be revealed. It is far past what's acceptable when you have assassinations. But you have this network intimidating, bullying, and Canada needs to lay things bare, and that's something that we're expecting. But given the size of this problem, and I think last time we spoke, I said this is the tip of the iceberg, and we're still not at the bottom. There's a lot more information to follow, and I think Canadians are going to be very surprised. But by the time everything is in front of the public, I think this will require a public inquiry. How is it that the Canadian Sikh community here in Canada has been targeted for decades, and this has only come to light now?
What is interesting when you look at the U.S. example is that while this court indictment is going through, the U.S. administration still is mutedly acknowledging it while still trying to pursue diplomatic relations with India. And in this country, India plays an important part of Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy. How do these actions, do you think, affect the kind of thinking right now regarding India and that strategy?
So I think the Western powers are looking for an alternative to China, and that makes sense. But the image of India as the world's largest democracy, I think, is in tatters right now. You have this so-called democracy where indeed there are votes that are cast, but it lacks the basic pillars of democratic values that we understand here in the West. So the media is very much under stress. They are not free. The judiciary is not being allowed to perform in a free manner. So the pillars of democracy as we understand it, beyond just votes, are absent in India. And we've seen this slide towards authoritarianism under the right-wing BJP government. Attacks on minorities are very common. So I think we need to reevaluate how we want to engage with India moving forward. This is not the world's largest democracy as they are painting. There are some very serious concerns, and we need to really be aware of them.
Mr. Balpreet Singh, I appreciate the time once again today. Thank you for this.
Thank you.